welcome to another episode of New to Me. I'm Stephen Michael Zach, and today we are talking about the Shure. This is the MV88 Plus. This is the portable audio video system for your cell phone. Let's go ahead and just jump in and take a look at this. Now, this will set you back $250. Let's go ahead and see if it's actually worth it. So inside the box, you get your warranties and things like that. And a little card that tells you the website, which leads you to a page that does not exist. But let's go ahead and open this up. First off, we get the fantastic Manfrotto tripod. I actually own one of these. Now the legs on this do seem a little bit wider than the one I have, but they really are terrific. And you can get this for under $18, about 17, 18 bucks. But it does come standard in the kit. Next, let's take a look at the Shure microphone itself. It has a very nice neoprene, very like aquatic kind of feel to it. Like if it gets wet, it'll just soak up the wetness. And this is what you get, kids. You have your Apple wire, your Android wire, which is a USB-C. You get your clip, you get your mount, and you get your microphone. Now, we won't be taking a look at the Apple wire because I don't have an Apple cell phone, but you get a micro USB to USB-C. You have the clip here, which is awful. This clip is so cheap and plasticky and rickety. This is going to be the first thing that breaks. It is not very good. Plus, if you look in here, it's kind of angled to slide your cell phone in, which means you cannot use your cell phone if it's in a case. You have to take the trouble to pop out your cell phone and put it in here. Also, another thing when I was testing this earlier is I don't like the fact that you have to push this down and then tighten this, which causes you to take your hands off the cell phone, which means, you know, my cell phone fell out a couple times and hit the floor with no case on it. So this is extremely cheap. It does have the shoe mount and a 1/4 on the bottom. For 150 bucks, we should really get something that's metal. So setting that aside, let's take a look at the mount for the microphone, which is very surprisingly, it's solid. It's a solid mount, and its mount is all metal. Now, why they couldn't have made this metal as well, I will never know. But it's pretty cool. The only thing I wish this were a shock mount. It's not, so it is gonna pick up all sorts of hand movements. And don't forget, again, you're holding it in your hand like this. So if you slide your hand around, it's gonna pick up all that sound. And lastly, we have the microphone, which really is what you're paying for and is very impressive. You get this nice little capsule. On the back is a headphone jack, which is very nice. Especially if your camera does not, if you don't have a headphone jack. If you want to use this with like an actual camera, I think you could. And then you've got the micro USB, which goes out to the USB Type-C. And of course you have this very nice filter, which comes off, but I would just keep the filter on. Very cool. So let's go ahead and set this thing up. Okay, so setting this thing up is super simple, super quick. You're just gonna screw this in like that, like so. There you go. You're gonna put the mount on there and tighten that, and we will snap this right into place, and we're all set. Next, I wanna attach my cell phone here, and just make sure I get it right. And again, this is what I was talking about in the beginning. You have to kind of line this up in the groove, and you have to push this down tight and then twist. Otherwise, you could pull your cell phone right out. Also, it does not work with the case. I've tried multiple times because of the little notch that's in here, which is unfortunate because this risks your cell phone getting broken. And lastly, all we have to do is plug in to the micro USB-C on the back and plug into my Type-C port. Now, if you do not have a USB-C, which this is really made for, I don't know if you can actually get a micro to micro wire. I don't know if it'll still work. I think this will only probably work with the micro C. So those of you without a newer phone are out of luck. And there you have it. It couldn't be easier to set up. Let's go into the menu section and then let's take a look at some samples, and I will talk some more about this right after this. Okay, so here we are in the app, and first off we have your gallery, we have the light to put on, the little button to put on your cell phone light, you have a record button, you have your microphone control, camera front and forward, and you have up here, you have grid controls, which is super cool. And you have your frames, and my cell phone could only do 30 frames or 24 frames. We'll stay in 24. And we have the option of 4K, 720, or 1080p. And that is only on the front-facing camera. And of course, I am recording in 48 Hertz. You can do 44.1, which is what it's initially set to. I like 48 because that's film. And of course, we're recording in AAC 96. That is the only audio you can record on this phone. And you get this 3-dot menu here, if I can press it, and you can go into your settings. And that just basically also controls your audio and analytics and things like that. So let's go ahead into the microphone control by hitting the microphone. And you have different things. You have voice, music, you have a limiter here, which drops you to about half level. You have acoustic, and you have a stereo setting. These are all quick setups, quick settings. You also have your microphone volume for your cell phone. And scrolling down, you get this awesome stereo width. You can go from 135 to 60 degrees, which I use for vlogging, and that's what I'm going to stick with. You have a limiter that you can turn on and off. I will also put on my limiter, even though I'm at this limiting mark. Let's go back to voice here. And you can't go back to voice once you set the limiter. So let's go ahead and turn off the limiter and set the voice. And then we'll go back down here and turn on the limiter. And yep, the limiter is already on, so there you go. You also have different levels of compression. I suggest with this, if you're going right from phone to posting, hit the medium compression. The light compression does not sound that good, but the more you compress it, the better it sounds. Medium compression does sound the best. And of course, you have your HPFs here, which is all your gigahertz, but you're not going to touch that. You could do a left and right swap here, and you also have an equalizer, so you can kind of get the sound that you want to get. I have mine set to flat. And that's it. That is pretty much all the controls that you have. Now, one thing I will say is that when you do the front-facing camera on this, my camera can actually... So one thing I will say is when you do the front-facing camera, my camera can do 4K front-facing, but this app will not let me do a 4K front-facing. So when I'm in vlogging mode, when the screen's facing me, rear-facing, I mean. Okay, so one thing I will say for this app is it will not let me do 4K rear-facing. That's when I'm holding my phone, the camera that's pointing at me. My cell phone can do 4K, but this app won't let me. So that is a quick walk through the app. Of course, you can kind of spot zoom here, and you can also make it brighter, darker and brighter. Now, one thing I wish I had is I wish this had color control, because I like to shoot in tungsten at 3000 Kelvin when I do my videos, and the problem is my face just comes out orange because there is no color control. The other downside to this is it does not work with Filmic Pro. We tried repeatedly and all we got is static on the mic, so that is a huge problem. Hopefully in the future there will be support for Filmic Pro. Okay, so right now I am at the mic gain leveler. I have the limiter on, and I'm actually in medium compression. And this looks great outside of my lights, but watch what happens when I step backwards into 300 Kelvin, 3000 Kelvin, super orange. This only works if you're in daylight. That is a huge problem. There is no color temperature adjustment. You cannot change for that. I'll step in front so I'm not grossing you out. Also, you have to hold it out here in order to get you. And if I frame myself properly on the phone, The camera's actually here, so when it comes out, it's going to be shooting over my head. That's a big problem with the app. So I have to kind of look at where the camera is and kind of judge where it is. And on my phone, it looks like it's cutting off the top of my head, unfortunately. But it's not. You'll see in the video that I'm actually framed fairly well. But if I go up and really frame myself, I'm actually shooting over my head. The other problem is the microphone is shooting also over my head. It's not, I wish it were on a ball head so that, I can aim it down and it would actually pick me up properly. Also, it's so far away, and if I come in close, you can see my face. It's way too much. Or at least it looks way too much on the screen. I can zoom in, but I can't zoom out, and I can't change the aspect ratio that's on my screen. So the app does say unreleased, which means I don't think it's ready yet. It has a lot of problems, and this is one of them. So yeah, and also this does not work with Filmic Pro. We tried it, all we got was static. So that's it. I hope it sounds good. I'll know in a minute. I think the profile I have it set to should be fine. It is a nice microphone, but as far as the app as a video camera, not so much. Okay, so my final thoughts on this thing. Oh boy, the microphone is fantastic. I mean, it works exactly the way it's supposed to. The microphone really is the gimmick of this system. Would I pay $250 for this microphone? Maybe. Everything else you could just leave out. The clip is incredibly cheap. They really cut the cost there. The mount is great, and of course the tripod is great. So you have three out of four things that are great. Why would you skimp and make the mount this cheap plastic? Maybe they were thinking weight, because with the app you do have to hold it out here. If you hold it here, then you're too close. So not bad. Let's talk about the app. While the microphone function is really great, it gives you, from 135 to 60 degrees of span, which is super cool. And I would suggest doing the gain, especially if you're in a noisy place. I would suggest activating the gain, which gives you half gain, going to the limiter, and then using the compression on medium compression. When you're on light compression or heavy, light compression sounds tinny and heavy compression is too much, but medium is very nice, and you can go right to YouTube with a medium compression. Unless the room's really noisy, and then you can kind of mess around with the settings. But the app is not perfect. There is no color control, so if you're shooting at a different color temperature, like 33,000 Kelvin, you're just gonna be orange. Unfortunately, there's not enough control over video. Also, you do have to hold this way out here, which is a huge problem. If you hold it here, you're gonna be really close. There is no aspect ratio changing on the app. Which leads me to, this does not work with Filmic Pro, which is a huge problem. Filmic Pro, I can hold it here and be absolutely fine, but it does not work with Filmic Pro. We tried it and all we heard was static. So hopefully there will be some kind of firmware update. There will be some kind of compatibility with Filmic Pro, but as it stands, their standalone app is pretty terrible. Which leads me to some of the problems with the app. Now, it does say unreleased when you go to the App Store, so obviously they haven't launched the app. It's still in beta, which you would think the app should be launched when the product launches. But it says unreleased, and there are problems. First off, when you enter the microphone system, we found sometimes would come out of the microphone system and the image would be stretched. The other massive problem we found with their app is if I'm here and I've got myself in focus and I'm shooting myself, the camera's actually shooting over my head and my head's gonna be down here. The actual image on my phone does not line up with the camera, and when it films it, you're gonna be, it's gonna look like this. It is not good, so you can't even trust the screen you're looking at, which is, again, is a huge, tremendous problem at launch. If you are selling these already, that should already be working. Filming other people with the rear camera, that seems to be fine. So my final thoughts, is this worth $250? Not really. You can build the same thing for about $100, and we will. coming up later this week or possibly next week when we get the video done. But I'm gonna do a build episode where we do build basically the same thing using some things I have and some things I bought, and it's gonna be under $130. But this really, you're paying for the microphone. And is the microphone worth it? Yes, it is a really kick-ass microphone, but I'd rather not get all this stuff and just give me the microphone and the mount and pay $200 because you can get the Manfrotto tripods for about 18 bucks on eBay, on Amazon. So that's it. Let me know in the comments below if you're thinking about getting something like this. It is a fantastic idea. The microphone works the way it's supposed to. I don't really have any problems with the microphone. I know some people will go and probably do more microphone tests. I'm not really a sound guy, so I'm not gonna like test every feature, but I'm sure somebody will. But for my purposes, the microphone really is terrific. But you are paying a hefty fee for this kind of microphone when any other microphone, like I have the Boya, which is the Rode clone, does exactly the same thing, and you can add your compression in post. And in my opinion, the Boya actually does sound better when you don't have any compression and this is just set to normal, the Boya actually sounds better. So that's it. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell button to be notified when we post brand new videos. I'm Stephen Michael Zach, and this is new to me.